Curse Crackers for Whom the Belle Toils function similar to a lot of other platformers. However, there's something different about the gameplay and world. You play as Belle, who goes on a journey to get her date back after he's captured by an old friend of hers named Bonnie. This is the primary plot for the majority of the game, but there are some twists to look out for. You kick off the title by playing through some carnival-themed levels, but there's a plentiful amount of unique stages as you progress through the main story. The structure of this title is that there are 5 levels in an area, and each one has a boss at the 3rd level, along with a theme change for stages 4 and 5, followed by an additional boss. I personally was not that invested in any of the designs of these levels, as they overall just kind of blended. However, I did appreciate the Game Boy Advance-like aesthetic. And there also isn't too much enemy variation either, as it mostly consists of variation of these skeleton guys. That being said, the soundtrack for Curse Crackers is amazing. There's plenty of great tunes that will keep you engaged throughout the duration of your experience. However, as you unlock new areas, you also gain access to non-level based villages, camps, and towns, where you can interact with a plentiful amount of NPCs. Like Belle, these NPCs and actually the game as a whole is full of personality. You can purchase items such as health and more that can help you during your playthrough. These areas are actually pretty fun to explore because the game just doesn't teach you anything, so you're kind of forced to just play around with it to understand what their functions are. Spoiler alert for the next few sentences. I'm telling you this now to save you time. There's a lot of side content in this game. However, a lot of it does not open up until you complete the game's core 25 stages. Once complete, you unlock more and more side missions that involve the NPCs scattered around the map. Okay, spoilers over. Each level has plenty of collectibles and secrets to find. So in addition to being a linear platformer, you have 3 roses to find in each level, along with 3 medals to earn by completing a minigame-like challenge, completing the level within a certain amount of time, and by throwing Chime from a distance at the stage's ending goal. Collecting the medals can earn you new palette colors for Belle, which can be switched on in the main menu, and collecting the roses will give you access to later areas. So I highly recommend finding those roses as you progress through the game. Also, a nice touch here is that if you need to replay a level to find those collectibles, you can actually exit the stage before completing it once you obtain them, which saves you a lot of time. The atmosphere of Curse Crackers definitely isn't the game's strong suit outside of the music, but the gameplay is very satisfying. The animations for Belle are amazing, and the platforming is tight and easy to maneuver. You have a companion named Chime who can be used to defeat enemies or to bounce yourself off of to reach higher and farther platforms. You can also do a far jump to reach hidden areas by sprinting, sliding, and then jumping, and you also have a high jump. Again, these things are not taught, so it's up to you to figure out when to use them. As someone who's not a speedrunner or a completionist, I'm telling you now that this feels like a game built for both types of players, as there's plenty to collect and there's an actual incentive to quickly get through a level. I definitely tried to get the speedrunner medal on multiple occasions and came up short, but it feels great to just flow with the game and make progress. Although the core 25 stages don't really feel all that challenging until you get to the last 10 or 15 or so, I still had a great time just maneuvering around each level with Belle and Chime. Although the main levels don't bring the greatest challenge, there is hidden areas similar to what you might see in the newer Donkey Kong Country games that give you access to other worlds where the levels are much more difficult. To put in perspective on how many of these hidden areas there are, I finished the main story at like 30%, so there's quite literally double the content even after beating the game. There's also a handful of fast-paced sequences where you'll die if you don't reach the next door in time. As I mentioned, there are 2 bosses per area, so you can expect to fight a plentiful amount of them. The bosses in Curse Crackers are not a highlight here, as the majority of them are pretty easy to take down, but you do get these fun little dialogue sequences before facing them. For some, you don't even necessarily fight, as they kind of function as their own minigames, whether it be playing a form of air hockey or pong, or facing off against a punk rocker. I wasn't the biggest fan of this, but I have to give credit for the creativity here. That being said, some of the main story's later bosses are actually decently challenging and require you to play cautiously. I just wish the majority of them played more like this. Honestly, one of my favorites was one that was a hybrid of a boss and platforming, as every time you break the hands of this thing, you're taken to an area where you have to quickly complete a platforming obstacle. So despite the lack of challenge in most of these bosses, I did find them to be unique in their own right. It's clear that Curse Crackers is more than just a linear platforming game, as it offers much more. The biggest flaw to me was really just the lack of unique level design and atmosphere. However, if you're looking for a game with some tight platforming and great animation, a fantastic fantastic soundtrack, and plenty of post-game content in the form of side missions and collectibles, then Curse Crackers for Whom the Belle Toils may be something you're looking for. I personally am not a fan into collecting or speedrunning, but I was still pleased with the core game. However, if you're a speedrunner or a completionist, then this is definitely a title that you should look at. I want to say thank you to Colorgrave Games for giving me a code for their titles so that I was able to get this review out alongside the Switch release date. I hope you all found this to be a short yet informative review, and if you're new to the channel, then I do hope you consider subscribing for plenty of other similar content. So, until next time.